Welcome to Leipzig. Here we are for the final leg of what has been the most incredible series. FEI Driving World Cup 2022-23. It's all to play for. What these guys are doing this weekend is sealing their places at the final in Bordeaux. We have the most incredible lineup for you. We've got Boyd and Bram going head to head once again. We saw them together in London and it was Boyd that just took it then. But as we can see, the arena is just being prepared at the moment, and out there in the warm-up zone in the collecting ring, they will be getting everybody ready. So there is the lineup. Bram Chardon and Boyd Exell. That's the qualifications for the finals as they stand at the moment. So Bram, Boyd, Ijsbrand Chardon, Bram's father there, and Koos de Ronde, and most likely Jérome Voutaz have sealed their places for the final. There will be 6 drivers going forward. Dries de Greek currently in 6th position. This very much depends on how Geerts, Dries's countryman, his fellow Belgian, great friends, they've did so well in the World Championships and Protoni together. Glenn has probably got more pressure on his shoulders than anyone this weekend. Is he going to be able to take a qualification place for the finals? Now, this is our Competition 1 start list here in Leipzig. We return to Germany. We've already had a leg in Stuttgart. And we start with 3 of the wild cards. So they're here to compete. They can win, they can be placed, but they just won't get the qualification points. And we start with the Dutch maestro, Koos de Ronde. He's been so consistent this season. Michael Brauchle, genius at times, but has made a few mistakes. And local German wildcard, Georg von Stein, who was a mainstay of that silver medal winning German team as well. So those are our wildcards, and then we run down to the qualification drivers, those drivers who are aiming to get the points. And welcoming back Jérome Voutaz. He's designed more courses than anyone else in this 2022-23 series, and he is one of the most experienced guys there is out there designing. And this particular course has got 2 marathon style obstacles, the bridge in the middle, which doubles up as numbers 4 and 8. There's Georg von Stein just walking around there, taking a good look. They don't have a huge amount of time, and the maestro himself, Boyd Exell, top ranked currently alongside Bram. They're both level pegging on 30 points. Geerts, he's said in the run-up to this Leipzig leg, he's going to try really hard not to let the pressure get to him. He knows that when he and his horses are on form, he can be right up there on the podium with a podium finish, and that's what he's going to need if he is going to make it to the final in Bordeaux. There's Jérome Voutaz from the Netherlands, but spends a lot of his time at the weekends travelling around the circuit all over Europe. He's also a technical delegate, as well as being a course designer, whole family involved in the sport. So the drivers, Koos de Ronde there as well, with wife Marie, just having a look round as everyone takes their seats in Leipzig for this, the 8th leg, 8 out of 8 qualifying competitions ahead of the final. Boyd there just going through his routes with his great friends and trusted team. Hugh Scott Barrett, who's on the bottom step, the ballast, and keeps Boyd's feet very much on the ground, and Emma Olsen, known as the Supergroon. And together they really do make a winning team. All the drivers pay a huge amount of credit to the people they have around them. They're also representing Germany as a wild card. That is Mickey Brauchle as he's known, And he is a very fast driver. When he gets it right, he and his horses go like lightning. And the party atmosphere going into the late hours. Here we are in Leipzig, and the atmosphere is incredible. These big halls that are transformed for the events. Other World Cups going on this weekend, qualifiers with the jumping and the vaulting as well. And indeed, it was in Leipzig that in April we saw a really wonderful four-header for the World Cup finals. We were delighted to be able to pull together a really incredible competition after a couple of, few stilted years and seasons with the pandemic. And the great Ijsbrand Chardon, Bram's father, but really needs no introduction himself. And all the drivers, the crowd getting behind them. This is just what we need. Full house. Just about. They're probably all out just replenishing their drinks in the bar. So the order of running, Koos de Ronde will be going first. He's a wild card and he's been so consistent this season. Michael Brauchle going next for Germany as a wild card, and he's followed in tonight by Georg von Stein. Then we get into the drivers who are going to be trying to gain those valuable points. Geerts for Belgium. And Glenn, who will be 34 this year, one of our next generation drivers. There he is, just taking it all in, probably trying to control his breathing, keep the heart rate down, not think too much about the task. He and the team around him, wife Charlotte, helps out as well with his wonderful horses. They're a little bit bigger than some of the other teams, and while that is great for covering the ground, it sometimes means that the tighter terms are a bit more elusive. But Glenn is a very accurate driver, and there is the defending champion, Bram Chardon from the Netherlands. Boyd just pipped him to the post in London, but because of the way that the rankings work and the points are awarded, both Boyd, Exell and Bram Chardon are currently sitting at the top of the rankings table on 30 points. So after Glenn tonight, we will be welcoming in Ijsbrand Chardon, who has done so much this year. He's so nearly caught Boyd, but just not quite in some of the earlier competitions this season. Next in, and having a tremendous season, and has probably done more than enough to seal his place in the final. That's Jérome Voutaz from Switzerland, and has been getting better and better as the season has gone on. The seventh driver in tonight will be Bram Chardon, and then followed by the man himself, current world champion for the outdoor three-day eventing, and that will be Boyd Exell. So great scenes tonight in Leipzig as the crowd really rev up. Competition 1 is all about a bit of a dry run ahead of the points competition on Sunday. So that's what everyone's really aiming for, but there is no less competitiveness for this Friday night round, which will determine the running order for competition 2 later in the weekend. So if you're tuning in late at night at home, wherever in the world you are, we're just about to welcome in the drivers, but the crowd in the meantime really engaging in some Mexican waves there, or shall we call them Leipzig waves, as they've probably enjoyed a great day and evening of competition. Oh, aren't they obedient? There we go. Great atmosphere to welcome all the drivers in. So there's a great overview of Jérome Voutaz's course, the two what we call marathon style obstacles, where you have all those gates to go through, A to F, must drive through them in sequence. Once you've been through a gate, you can go through it again, forwards as backwards, as many times as you like. So we have a combination of the bridge in the middle, which is numbers 4 and 8. Quite a fast dash through the start round to number 1. So up and down this arena here in Leipzig several times during the course of the competition. And first in, with a great season, been so consistent, third place finishes, he's made all the drives-offs. Koos de Ronde, one of the most consistently successful international four-in-hand drivers, both indoor and outdoor. Driving his team four-in-hand of late teenage horses. They're all very experienced driving horses. Wife Marie on the back and Peter de Ronde as well. So very much a family affair. And Koos is always fast. He's a marathon specialist outside. Here he is. And he's off. Now this is going to be a very good marker as to how the course runs and where the bogey points might be. So just keep a note of those times, and these drivers all aiming for the clear round, because every time they knock a ball or a gate, 4 penalties are added, which translate into seconds over the bridge. So that's number 4 for Koos. And that looks like a quite knock. Whether a ball has gone, at the moment it's on 0. So many changes of rain between these gates and the obstacles. You have to be so quick with your rein handling, with your responses, and those horses keen going forward. And that's definitely a knockdown. That will be 4 to add in this, the first of the marathon style obstacles with Koos de Ronde. It's number 5. So far 4 to add. And just look at that exit time. That was round about 71 seconds. So that's quite a good marker just in terms of speed. He's usually very fast, and we've got one of the strongest fields of any of the competitions so far this season. So those places in the drive-off on Sunday will be really contested. All the drivers do go forward this evening. The placing's so important, but this isn't the night where the points are added. And Koos just threading his way through. Number 9. This is the second of the marathon style obstacles. This is where the agility and the accuracy matters, the communication and the speed of that rein handling. And he's out. And then you want those horses to be able to ping forward and really cover the ground. Just keep an eye on that time. He will be fast. Just a glance down there to make sure. Oh, and he's taken out another one. If you're going to do it decisively. So that's 8 to add so far for Koos de Ronde. And through the oxer there, another one, 12. So an expensive round in terms of penalties for Koos, but remains to be seen what comes next. It could be a difficult course tonight. Just a little bit of rebuilding there, and we'll get confirmation of the time up soon. So 1:56:49 with a total of 168:49. So don't forget we've had to add those 12 penalties. So 3 knocks there over the course for Koos. But undoubtedly his time will be very competitive. Those horses all working so well together, leaning into that turn. Look at the suppleness through the neck of those lead horses, doubling back on themselves. You're asking for so many different points of articulation, which you can get, but don't try this at home. These drivers are professionals. These horses are so brilliantly trained. They are the athletes at the peak of their performance and fitness. So just making sure that the distances are all correct. The carriages themselves, the wheel width will be 125 centimetres, and then there is a set distance. They have a bit of room on either side when they're going through the pairs of cones, and a little bit wider with the gates. We're talking about 3.5 metres when you're inside the obstacles, but my goodness, when you're on the ground looking at them, they're still very tight. Now coming into the arena, the second of our wildcards tonight. This is Michael Brauchle, and he is sure to get a really big cheer from the home crowd, and he can be so fast. Doesn't look like he will be one of the final drivers in Bordeaux in a couple of weeks' time, but he's had a great season, certainly outdoors in 2022, and just off, and he will be fast. He's got such keen and responsive horses, and if he can leave those gates up and the balls on top, look at the speed round that first corner. This is not a sport for the faint-hearted, but you can gain valuable seconds on those crossing points of the arena. That's when you want your horses to be on the flat-out gallop. The only physical control you have over them is through those hands and reins, and it takes faith and trust from everybody. The horses in each other, the horses in the driver and the people on the back. Gosh, that's a really tight double back on himself. Very good. Oh, just missed the gate. Having to ask them to come back again. Just a little bit of miscommunication. What he doesn't want to do is go through the gates in the wrong order. You must go A to F in the correct order. But just a little bit of adjustment there from Mika in through C. Probably just attacked it a little bit too hard. He's very competitive. As we saw in those opening seconds of the round, he really had the foot down, and that's the gamble you take. Speed over accuracy sometimes. Getting them to come together is an art form and takes years. So just coming out of that first obstacle, if you compare that to Koos's time, he's down on the clock, but only 4 to add so far, but he'll be frustrated. But there's all to play for. All the drivers will be back over the bridge. He goes through number 8. You'll see just on the split time there, 9 seconds on top of Koos's time at the cut-off point into the second of the marathon-style obstacles. The marathon is the second phase of the outdoor competition, and we'll have up to 8 obstacles, and so we call it the marathon style obstacles because you have these multiple gates with lots of different options, and those are the decisions you have to make when you're walking the course with your team just before you start. And he's off. Now that was superb. That's what it's normally like with Michael Brauchle, going through smooth, and the horse is responding to him. So just a blip there for him in obstacle number 5. But this is a competitor who will come back every time. So that's the ox are taken out. Koos knocked them at the same point, so that angle is probably pretty difficult. So Michael Brauchle, a bit of a shrug of the shoulders. Now all of them will be going back after the competition and just analysing their rounds. So 169.87, but the total of 177.87. So that pops them into second place at the moment of the two. Just a glimpse there of Bram Chardon's sister Leanne, just there on the sidelines watching some of the early drivers go round. They will all have their routes in their head, but they will always be comparing notes with what the other drivers are doing. Bump, bump over the bridge there. It makes a tremendous sound when you're there in the arena, when you hear those hooves going over the wooden bridge. 16 shod feet really adds to the atmosphere. Now, on his first appearance here for the Driving World Cup Series, by invitation of the organisers, Georg von Stein, an enormously experienced competitor. He's been a mainstay of the German international team at three-day event level for many years, and indeed was part of their very successful team at the World Championships in Crotone, just outside Rome, only a few months ago in September. So whereas all the other drivers have had plenty of match practice this season, Georg and his horses have probably been competing indoors, just away from the actual FEI World Cup circuit, but certainly looking very competitive. He's coming here and he means business. So those lead horses, they're the ones Direction and Speed, and the two behind the wheelers, often slightly bigger in size and in weight because they're doing the pulling of the carriage. So just look at Georg taking up those loops. The reins are buckled together on either side, so you have both the left reins front and back and right reins front and back buckled so that you don't drop a rein, because obviously that's one of the worst things that can happen. Then you lose your means of communication with the horse. So those horses keen and dancing. And so far, the balls have stayed on top. Come on, George, for his first outing on the World Cup Series. This is looking very good. Lovely long-legged horses really stretching out and covering the ground. And he is well up on the clock. Into number 9. So the second of the obstacles where you have options, you have these gates, A to F. When we come to the drive off, once all the drivers have been through on this first round, we will drop gates F from both the obstacles, so the times will look a little bit faster by comparison. But at the moment, we're just watching the third of our drivers go through this evening, and this is looking very impressive. No penalties to add so far. You'd think he'd been out at every event so far this season. Well done, showing all his experience, and the horses working extremely well together as a unit. Now this has been, yes, that is proving to be a very difficult oxer. Must be at quite an angle. So, great round. We'll put him into the lead. We'll just wait for that time come up. 8 to add. But he does go into first place. So 157.32. So just a little bit behind Koos, but very good. That was an impressive round. And a smile. Horses looking fresh and fit. All going forward well into the breast collars. They have to sit just at the right position on the chest of the horses to give optimum push into it to get those carriages moving. See those traces all taut going back down to either the bars or the carriage. All horses working so well as a unit. Yes, just those last few questions, just catching him out, because until then it had been quite an impressive round. So next in, Geerts, and his horses always have such presence. He's a fan of the Dutch Warm Blood, KWPN as they're known. One of our most consistently successful next generation drivers, Geerts for Belgium. And he'll be trying awfully hard at the moment not to think about that place he wants so desperately in the finals. 27 there, world ranking number 8 at the moment. He's normally so accurate. What can he do tonight in Leipzig? This his final chance to really lay down the gauntlet. Even though tonight's points don't count towards that qualification for the finals, the performance, the state of mind, how well you go, how responsive the horses are, it all contributes towards Sunday's round. And if everything goes well, it can't help but to help the state of mind. Concentrating their big loops on that tight left turn coming in to the obstacle. These horses bouncing, just look at that responsiveness from the leaders, how they're coming round. So even while the wheelers are going in a slightly different direction, you're doubling back at that great point of articulation between your two front and two wheel horses. This is a combination that has been out throughout the season. So even when there's a slight disagreement like that, they come out of it very quickly and out through F. So time pretty similar to Koos at the same point as they come out of number 5. Now with his long-legged horses, these warm bloods, they are the running horses. They're the sprinters of the driving world. Bred through the generations for exactly this job, to be driven sport horses. Very trainable, can be quite slow maturing sometimes, but when they come together like this, aren't they looking just fantastic? And Glenn, usually one of our most accurate drivers. Let's hope he can keep his accurate record up so far, and it's looking pretty good. Nothing to add so far for Geerts as he comes out of number 9, but don't forget these last few turns have caught out all the other drivers so far tonight. Can Glenn be the first to get through that oxer and leave it all standing up? It's quite an angle. Yes, he's done it. Well done, Glenn. Oh, but then the last one's gone. Oh, 13. But a great round from Glenn and a big smile. 4 to add. 154.01. So he stays in the 150, so 158.01. So he's given himself a good margin there. Well done, Glenn. Very consistent round. He knows himself. He is a master at leaving those balls on top. He's incredibly accurate. But just that last one, maybe he just relaxed a little bit too much. But those angles, don't forget, we're at the end of the series, at the end of the season. So the course builders will be posing bigger questions for these drivers. These horses are completely match fit. The drivers are in the headspace, no distractions, and certainly a very polished performance from Geerts, representing Belgium. He was on the podium in Leipzig in April last year, as he was third behind Bram and Boyd, and certainly would have started out the season very much hoping that he would make it to the finals. But he's got a tough job ahead of him, but did absolutely nothing wrong with that first round here at competition 1. And a man that needs no introduction, the legendary Ijsbrand Chardon. If there was ever a driver that embodied passion, lived and breathed the sport, the driven horse, it's Ijsbrand Chardon. And still competing whilst supporting his son Bram, who will be coming in next. They're an incredible family. They run a big enterprise in the Netherlands, but travel all over the world. And Ijsbrand's been on some of the best form of his career this year. Put in a fantastic performance in Protoni at the World Championships for the outdoor 4-in-hand World Championships. We did wonder if he would make it his 5th World Championship, but Boyd Exell spoiled the fun for that. But here he goes. We will be seeing him in Bordeaux, but that doesn't matter. He's going to want to do as well as possible. But that said, an early ball. An early ball for Ijsbrand Chardon there. And just trying to avoid the oxer, and it looks like a ball has rolled on that. Now, although he hasn't been through it, he will still be penalised. There's all sorts of tricky angles in this course that Jérome Voutaz has laid out. He said at the beginning of the series he wanted big, open, flowing obstacles because the horses were just warming up to it. But now, at the end of the series, he's making everyone really produce their A game. So 12 to add, as we saw that middle element being knocked over. So Ijsbrand here in number 5, the first of the marathon obstacles. And he's out. Time pretty much where Koos was earlier on. So will be interesting to see just how that compares, but already quite an expensive round for him. 12 to add so far, 7 seconds behind Glenn. Well, that's pretty decisive. 16 to add now. So just slightly misjudged that entrance into number 9. Now, interestingly, the bell hasn't been rung. I think that's probably why he hesitated a little bit, because sometimes if you knock over an obstacle, the bell can be rung if it needs to be rebuilt. Just not his night. Not his night. The clock is still running. Is he keeping going? Yeah, but he's just slowed right down. So he's just taken the foot off the pedal, and we're going to call it a schooling round. And he will take himself back after this. And that's the bell. That's the bell, lots to add. And looks like an error, of course, but the hand goes up. Grooms have gone down. Just a harness check there. Just wondering if there's, I see there's the cone stuck underneath. Luckily, probably a few spares. just making a decision whether that particular cone can be used again. They do have to be of a set height and dimensions, and they do have to be squishy enough so that if they do go under the wheel like that, that it's going to be okay. But a lot of penalties to add. Looks like they had to rebuild that number 12 Oxer, which is when an extra few penalties get added. So not a night that the great Ijsbrand Chardon will want to remember, but it doesn't matter because he's done more than just about anybody for the sport of carriage driving. And he'll be off that carriage in just a moment to cheer on his son Bram. Interestingly, it's the first time that both Bram and Ijsbrand have competed at the same event, because they both said earlier on in the season they've been swapping horses between them. It takes so much work to have all these horses match fit, so that from the same base, from the same family, to be producing two teams of horses is a big ask. And whatever's gone on in the background, whoever has decided to take which horses, it could be that Ijsbrand has passed on the A team to Bram and to help his bid to retain his World Cup title. But make no mistake, Ijsbrand will be back out on Sunday like nothing's happened. But in the meantime, a little bit of head scratching, but he'll be down watching Bram before too long. But in the meantime, we welcome in one of our contenders for this year's title. He's had a great season. Jérome Voutaz is always very fast. His times are way up there with the winners, and if the bulls stay on top, he ends up on the podium. So currently ranked number 5, and it is the 6 top ranked drivers out of the 10 competing that will go forward for the finals. So all being well, Jérome has done enough to take himself to Bordeaux. He's a driver that says the more compact arenas, the smaller the arena, the more twists and turns. They suit his compact horses. He drives a breed called Freiburger, and yes, it's tricky. That's one gone early for him. So are we going to get any clear rounds tonight without any penalties to add? Big questions being asked, as they should be at this stage in the season. So 4 to add on that early set of cones. Now his split time coming out of obstacle 5. Watch out for that. It will be fast, all being well. And as we've seen with the previous drivers, they are quite lightweight, these gates tonight. They seem to be blowing over quite easily. So the slightest knock. Each venue has its own equipment. So although Jérome, oh, you see how easily they go. So that's 8 to add. So known as these knockdown elements, and if they come off, that's when the penalties are added. But just giving and taking with the reins. If you ask the horses to come round one way, you give with the opposing hand, giving them as much room as possible to make the turns and keep the lines as tight and accurate as possible. Just a trip there from one of his leaders, but a good recovery. But that's just thrown him off his line, which means he's taken out another cone. Now, if he's been through it already, the clock won't need to be stopped because it won't need to be rebuilt. It's just more penalties to add. So, and we see him through F, so he's out. but with 12 to add. So the time will be important. Remember, it is a collective competition. So all the drivers come forward for the drive off. All to play for. Now he's got through that clear. That's an amazing achievement, because that has been testing into looked like a slight navigational question there. 20 to add. Yeah, the drivers all being really tested tonight. So ends on 178.07, puts him into 5th position at the moment. Looked like he made an extra loop at the end there. It looks like all these questions are coming so quickly. There's no time to think between the elements. You've got a little bit of breathing space on either side of those wheels. The carriage width, 125 centimetres. Although it's tempting to look down to see if you've gone clear, you must try and keep that vision forward. It can alter the whole balance of the turnout, depending on where the driver's body position is. But look how hard those two backsteppers are working as well. Navigator position directly behind the driver, keeping them correct. Now, what's going through Jerome's mind? The tall Dutchman there. And now, what can Bram do? Looks like he's got one of his younger horses in the lead there. Now, this is a horse he's been bringing out this season. You can see, because he's still a darker grey, what we probably call a steel grey, hasn't quite gone to the white of the other slightly older horses. But Bram Chardon on maximum ranking points at the moment, currently aged 29. Father Ijsbrand just not had the best night of his life. Bram, so focused and so professional, will have done everything he can to put that out of his mind. His sister Leanne on the back, and they are a tremendous team. He has total trust in her, and she keeps him right, because there's an awful lot to think about in a very short space of time, all the changes of rein and direction, and you absolutely need to have a brilliant navigator. And also the person in that position is just adjusting the torque on the turntable as well, to make sure the carriage doesn't flip out as you're going on the straight. Now, take a look at Bram's times. He is fast and he is tight. One of the many reasons why he is the current driving World Cup champion is his accuracy and his focus. This telepathic communication he has with his horses. The brilliance of his rein handling. Oh, yes. Now that is tight into the cones coming out of there. But so far, out of number 5, nothing to add. 7 and 8, okay, over the bridge. And look at that, -9 seconds. So he's up on the clock. He's given himself a margin, but suddenly 8 to add. Where did that come from? But with penalties being clocked up by all the other drivers, the best Bram and Boyd can do is get the speed up, and they can both do that. It doesn't look like it's going to be a course that produces clear rounds, but never say never. We've still got Boyd to come. 8 to add so far for Bram Chardon, who won so emphatically in Geneva for his first outing. He was second just behind Boyd in London, but as Boyd was the wild card, Bram was given the full 10 points. He's got through that difficult combination, and that looks like that is a very impressive time. That's the first one to go sub 150. So 145.87 is the time, with the 8 to add, 153.87. So clearly out in the lead so far. But he can't relax because there's one more to come. And that one more is Boyd Exell.
In dieser ersten Runde heute. Ist unangefochten der beste Fahrer der Welt.
As Bram says of these brilliant horses, they are good on the right turn. Boyd's team, by contrast, slightly have it on the left turn. Those sorts of things are always at the front of your mind when you're walking the course. Big puff of the cheeks there from Bram. Let's hope they're commenting on FEI driving. There we go. All the phones out. And no doubt this next round will be filmed by lots of those supporters. Look at the flags. The Aussies are in Leipzig. Just seeing Bram's grey horses there in the background. And here he comes. So Boyd has a little bit of business to settle, because last time he was here in Leipzig at the final, he was just picked at the post. He made a late mistake. He says himself he made the mistake. One of his wheels just clipped the edge of a cone. The ball rolled, and that cost him what was going to be his 10th World Cup title. Now look at these horses. They are fizzing and keen. He says himself he just doesn't interfere. He steers. They're the ones that set the pace. They're the ones that know the job. Just look at the speed he gets. When he says go, they really go. Across the arena. Round, off the wall, making sure he doesn't clip those other cones. Leave the balls on top. That's the number one job. As well as making sure you're faster than everybody else. Dancing round. So responsive. These brilliant horses. Four to add so far. 4 to add for Boyd Exell in number 5. Still dancing, but what he does when he says go, they don't just go, they flat out gallop in his hand. The reins never go slack. Those horses listening to his every command through his hands, through the body, through the brain and the voice. That's it. Pick up the loop of those lead horses. Just have a look at those. This is how we steer them round. Pick up the loops, allow with the outside hand, give them the maximum chance to be as accurate as possible. But these split-second decisions, even driving a team of 4 horses in a straight line is a huge ask. Never mind over these courses, and these brilliant drivers make it look easy sometimes. 8 to add. 8 to add so far, but the time will be fast. Bram's time was 1:45.87. At the moment, they're on a similar number of penalties. Oh, just behind. Just behind. Puts him into second. Only just 1:46.01. So with the 8 to add, 154.01. So nothing in it. Not even a hair's breadth. This is why they are both, Bram and Boyd, at the top of the rankings. This is why we call it the Clash of the Titans when they come together. You've just witnessed how close they are.
So, meine Damen und Herren, das war die erste Runde Sparkassen-Trophy FEI Driving World Cup.
Two drivers absolutely at the top of their game with the best horses on the circuit. And we've just seen why. That really, it's about them. Just looking back, very interesting to see what is going to happen in the next round. How is it going to change? Are we still going to have balls being knocked off? So there we have it. Bram just in front, but look at that margin. There's nothing between it. Boyd just sitting in second place, but it doesn't matter to him. He can come from behind if he's going to win just as much as he leads from the front. Glenn Geerts, that's looking good for Glenn. This is exactly where he would want to be with his bid to make the final in Bordeaux. Georg von Stein, incredible wild card, the first outing in the series. He wasn't one of the top 10 ranked drivers to make the invitation list, and look where he's sitting. So brilliant round from him. He must be one of the most delighted drivers there is. So Koos de Ronde, good time, but quite an expensive round in terms of the balls. But he set the pace. All his fellow competitors will have been looking at the clock because Koos is always fast. So welcome back as the arena is just being prepared, and start list round two. Ijsbrand Chardon didn't have a good night at all, just not on his aim game, so he'll be the A game. He'll be the first one back in. Jérome Voutaz, again an expensive round. Brauchle made a mistake, just lost his way a little bit in the first of the marathon obstacles, so that's why he's a bit further down the line. Koos de Ronde did nothing wrong, just probably wants to be a little bit more accurate second time in. Georg von Stein here as our wild card on his first outing in this series and did brilliantly. And then we come to Glenn, Boyd and Bram Chardon here in Leipzig. And brilliant atmosphere in this wonderful big hall. Earlier in the day we've had some World Cup jumping and the vaulting. So these tractors just whizzing round, just smoothing it out, just making sure the carriages don't get caught in any ruts left from the first time round. But certainly this course designed by Jérome Voutaz, as we would expect at this stage in the series, is asking all sorts of questions. This is the dress rehearsal. This is the dry run for the final, which will be rolled out in 2 weeks' time in Bordeaux. 6 qualification places are available. 6 qualification places, and there will be place for 1 wild card, but that wild card is usually somebody that is invited by the National Federation, who has also participated in the series. So back in for his second round here in competition 1 on Friday evening, and still quite a full house in Leipzig. Ijsbrand Chardon. Now he's had to go out and just dust himself down and put the disappointment of his first round way behind him. But if anybody can do it, this genius horseman can. The number of horses he has produced, world champion many times over, indoor and out, on the gold medal winning team on numerous occasions for the Netherlands, with his team of Lipizzaner here with those famous prefixes Conversazione and Favori. The Lipizzaner, the breed, so well suited to the indoor driving. A majority of the successful horses on the circuit will be these Lipizzaners. Now, Ijsbrand, can he drive as he has done earlier on in this season when he was really challenging Boyd for the top spot? He's gone and had a good talking to himself, possibly made a few harness adjustments. Oh, 4 to add. But certainly means business. So we've got the total running on the clock from the first round. And don't forget, we take out the F gate. So the times will by default be quicker because they come out of the multiple gate obstacles after E. So we're dropping the F gate in 5. So that's it, and exiting out. So of course this changes the lines completely and actually gives an easier line into number 6, because that turn from F to 6, that was challenging earlier on. So number 8, 4 to add so far. Now this is where the wheels just fell off the bus a little bit last time, but no, what a pro. Here he is back as if nothing's happened. The horse is responsive. Only 4 to add, and he's currently in number 9. The gates staying upright, and they are very lightweight. They're falling over terribly easily tonight, but this is great. This is the Ijsbrand Chardon we know and love. Competitive, passionate, and brilliant. He's thrilled to be round this far. Accurate. Oh, what a recovery. What a recovery. That quite possibly will be the drive of the night. What an amazing comeback. This is why he has been at the top of the game for so long. Absolutely brilliant. A total of 378.42. Keep that figure in your mind. We're now really going to be running off the totals because we've got the penalties and the time from the first round, and we're going to add it all up, so it's collective, but absolutely brilliant. Wouldn't you love to know what he'd gone and said to himself outside? The dusting down he and the team must have given, because that performance we saw first time out was not typical Ijsbrand Chardon. But to recover and come back, brilliant. You wonder if it's water in that bottle on the back there. Certainly took some go fast or something. Absolutely wonderful. Look at those horses. And he hadn't even finished the round when he was celebrating. Just the belief and the energy and the commitment from everyone involved. Those 4 horses, those 3 people, all the equipment, everything finely tuned and chiseled for this moment. Now, Jérome Voutaz had a great season so far, so not accustomed to coming back in quite so soon for a drive off. Was obviously the home crowd's favourite in Geneva. The Swiss drivers have always been successful over the years, many champions and team placings, and particularly successful in the pairs competitions as well. But always great horsemen and have lovely horses. And these Swiss Freiburgers, compact and powerful horses. Just look at their build. See if you can picture them against Geerts, slightly finer, more athletic Dutch warm bloods. But these little powerhouses of horses, this is what's so well suited to what is needed. The turns, the acceleration, 0 to 60, proper horsepower. So just bringing them back into the hand, asking for the turns. Now the horses will be anticipating. They're so bright. Look at that great little left leader just pushing his mate over. There's always one leader that the driver seems to relate to, who keeps everybody right. Oops, that's a knock. So clearly 4 to add. But again, he seems to be much more together than his first round, as we would expect. They've been round it once. They can judge the angles, the loops they need to take, the acceleration and the braking points all a little bit more easily. Now they've done it once. So the clock ticking, 4 to add so far. Ijsbrand Chardon finished on a total of 378.42. Is he going to beat him? Looking good so far. Coming round. Yes, this tricky oxer caught so many of them out. Yes, and the ball's gone on that, so 8 to add. 8 to add, but a clear margin, 328. So some distance in front. 328.04. 8 to add for Jérome Voutaz. So probably won't put him up into the top 3, but like all of the drivers, will be going back analysing it. They do run over the same course again on Sunday, and you'll notice how they will all be shaving the seconds off when they go through it, for what is it, the third, and for some drivers will be the fourth time. Only 3 of the drivers go forward to the drive-off for the qualification round, which is competition 2, and that comes on Sunday morning. Now, just be prepared for a bit of speed now that Michael Brauchle has come back in, because he's another one that, if there's been a problem in the first round, is brilliant at just giving himself a talking to outside, perhaps making the odd adjustment, and he'll be coming back in. Still smiles amongst the team, which is a good sign. As all the drivers say, it's about the horses, but it has to be fun, because the hours and hours and miles and commitment and everything that goes in to getting these horses here, the sheer transportation of them all. The drivers will all travel with 5 horses to these events. You travel with your spare just in case anything happens. So you have your spare horse with you. So 5 horses to be looked after and kept absolutely at the peak of their fitness, even through the winter. And this brilliant World Cup series, which has brought driving to a whole new audience. Absolutely captivating, and to see it live in the flesh is like nothing you've ever seen before. So, one of our speed merchants, Michael Brauchle, one of the wild cards for Germany, and look at him go, giving the horses the reins, saying, go on chaps, shave those seconds off where you can, determined not to knock the oxer before he's been through it. 4 to add. He's going for speed again, but as we've seen so far, this is a tricky course to get round and not to knock anything. Now already looking like he's going through in a much more coordinated fashion than he did last time. There was just a bit of miscommunication between him and the horses, and he ended up gaining a little bit of time with a change of direction. But there he is coming through E, much improved, and they're out. And this team of horses, as good as they get for putting down the foot and accelerating. Because if you're going to gallop like this with 4 powerful, fit, free-thinking animals, you need to know that you can stop as well. And that's just as important now. I think we can clearly say another penalty there. Interesting how easily these elements seem to be knocking off and over. Looks like another knockdown there. Still to be added. Time ticking down. Jérome Voutaz completed with his collective score of 328.04. Just having a quick look down for Michael Brauchle. Yes, there was one more to add. That's gone up to 12. Yeah, so already he's just dropped behind Jérome. So 334.60 is his collective end score. So lots of support for one of the 2 wildcard drivers representing the home nation Germany in Leipzig, even late on a Friday night. So he's gone into second place at the moment. Yeah, 338.60. There was that sneaky knockout element that just fell off in number 9. I think that was late spotted by the scorers, so a bit more to add for him. But certainly a good time and lots of positives to take away after a slightly sticky obstacle 5 in the first round for Michael Brauchle. Now coming in, a driver who really will want to finish in the top 3. Koos de Ronde. Wife Marie on the back there. And Peter de Ronde, keeping it in the family. Like so many of our drivers, the sport and the passion for the driven horse has come down through the generations. Koos's father and brother also involved, because it really does require commitment at every level, and to have a family and the knowledge and wisdom through the generations certainly helps. So into number 5 already. Koos's horses just all in their late teens now, but testament to the wonderful way they've been kept over the years. Not just by Koos, the drivers always cutting in new horses, perhaps had an eye out from other horses being driven, adding to the team. And so far, an impressive round from Koos. Nothing to add. He's back over the bridge, so that is number 8. 13 obstacles in total. So you get that speed up over the bridge and you're trying to shave off the seconds, and then suddenly back into the hand. It all happens so quickly, particularly in this arena and over this course. That'll be 4 to add. Just a case there of the leaders just anticipating a little bit, perhaps slight ambiguity in the size of the loop or the instruction that was given. But thankfully, because the gates are so lightweight and do seem to flip over with astonishing ease here in Leipzig, nothing's going to happen to these horses when they come into contact with it. So he's on, and a good time, just that slight hesitation, but popped himself into first, 3:18.16. But a good total there from Koos de Ronde, the sort of drive we have come to expect from him. Just one minor misjudgment there, but working with 4 horses, it's bound to happen. But actually one of the cleanest rounds so far, just with the 4 to add, and certainly a very good time. So lots of positives to take away going into the competition on Sunday. Koos will not be getting any more points in Leipzig this weekend. He's had his 4 qualification events, and of those events, 3 count towards the rankings. All importantly, the drivers do want to finish clearly in the top 6 to guarantee their place and just give them one more outing at the wonderful final, which comes up in 2 weeks' time. So, having put in the most impressive round, not a driver we associate as much as his fellow competitors with the World Cup Indoor Series, so really very impressive Georg von Stein drove very well to anchor the German team at the outdoor 4-in-hand championships in autumn, September. A beautiful setting in Protoni, near Frascati, just outside Rome. It was a wonderful festival of driving that followed on from the ridden eventing. The Italian Federation did a wonderful job. But here we are, part of the travelling family and circus that is carriage driving. I think 4 to add for that one. This is a course that asks questions through every single gate. We're up to 8. So let's hope he hasn't used up all his luck in that brilliant first round. Look how lithe these horses are. They work very impressively together first time out. Oh. He's getting fully involved. Arm up across his chest. Another one to add there. It could be the horses are getting a bit strong because they are so enjoying what they're doing. And once they start to get strong, you can't let them go forward quite so much because you mustn't lose your steering, particularly when there are so many changes of direction. Back over the bridge. So we're over the halfway point. And not only are you asking them to come back into the hand, you're asking your horses to make all these turns. And you do need, particularly your lead horses, to be in perfect harmony together. And these horses have to know their names because you might be calling the name of the lead horse that you're asking to be on the inside turn. You might be asking the wheeler on the inside to jump off those gates. All sorts of different ways of speaking to the horses, but they must know their names as well. The voice, such an important part of the driven turnout. Now, the bell has gone. The bell has gone.
10 Sekunden kommen drauf, so sitzt das Reglement vor, bitte einmal eine Runde fahren, Georg. Und dann wird zum passenden Zeitpunkt wieder angeläutet.
So, possibly a bit of a sat-nav error. It happens. So, slight sat-nav error from Georg and his team. But the foot's gone back down again. You'll see 10 gets added just for these things. Back through the Oxer. Oh, that's a shame. Right at the end of the course. Just have a slight wobble. So 3-3-2-64. Pops him into third, so he'll probably just slip down the positions a little bit after that very, very good opener. It all happens so quickly in the World Cup driving. You can't reflect on what's gone because you're constantly thinking about the next turn, the next gate, the next change of direction. The concentration that's needed, and how easy is it for it to lapse. And we've seen it a couple of times from actually both German drivers tonight. But the support from the home crowd is not diminished in any way. Now, Glenn Geerts had a brilliant opening round tonight in Leipzig. Usually so accurate. And these super athletic horses Just look at the length of their legs and the space, as we say, the space between the bodies and the ground. There's a lot more space underneath them, and they are particularly lithe and athletic, long-legged runners. And Glenn, just so passionate about his horses. Another driver whose family have been doing it through the generations. His grandfather, like Glenn, drove a four-in-hand representing Belgium in Protoni. So the support always travels with his parents, wife and his young daughters. So the whole family, wife Charlotte on the back there. And so far for Glenn, he's still on 0, which is something that he specialises in. These clean rounds. And the whole of Belgium will be willing him to do well tonight. That said, if he does do really well this weekend, it'll be Dries de Griek, his countryman, that he pips to the post for that championship place. So Belgium will be there, should be there. We just have to see. We'll know probably by Sunday lunchtime, you're in European time certainly, who our 6 drivers are going to be for Bordeaux. But it's all about Leipzig tonight. Now that's brilliant. The horse is listening so hard to Glenn. Which way, Dad? Which way? Which way? And just looking for the gaps. That's what you want. You want these lead horses in particular just to be pushing themselves forward through this Oxer. This is a great round. Come on, Glenn. Oh no. 4 to add. 3:06, but that was great. 3:06.31. Some way in front at the moment. 3:06.31, and Glenn always thanks his horses. Tremendous horseman. Always puts the needs and welfare of his horses way ahead of everything else. And they're always beautifully turned out. If you ever get a chance to look close up at one of Glenn's teams of 4 horses, beautifully plaited, clean harness. And he and the team always look fantastic. So it takes a huge amount of pride in the standard of the turnout. And of course that translates all the way through, not just the presentation, but how well they drive. Just look how hard those 2 on the back are working. Navigator keeping him right. Bottom step just keeping the balance and the weight of the carriage right. You don't want that carriage flipping over. And thanking his horses. Now in comes Boyd. And sit back and just watch these 4 horses as they pass through a start gate, because there is no other team on the circuit that can accelerate through the start like these horses do, because they mean business from the second the clock starts. And look at that, they're off. Boyd doesn't really do second, and even if he says it's all about the fun of the sport, for him it's about the winning. Look at that loop, just communicating with the horses. Dance, dance, trip round, turn back on yourselves, lean in, Boyd, concentrating, Emma keeping him right. through E. And remember, they're straight out. We've dropped the F gate for the drive off, which has given a slightly easier turn. They can get up a bit more speed as they come out to go through number 6, which is the first set of cones after that first obstacle. So over the bridge, number 8 down, nothing to add so far, and quite an impressive time difference there, nearly 13 seconds up on Glenn. So tight round the elements, that's where you gain this time. But the judgment that it takes to get all 4 horses round at the right angle on the right line so that your carriage doesn't catch, those wheels don't catch the elements, because as we've seen, they flip over so quickly, but he's done it. If anyone can, he can. Is he going to be clear? No, that's one gone. What a course. How Jérome Voutaz is making these drivers go tonight. But the time will be good. And he's just knocked an element there in that obstacle. So 8 to add. So far 8, just remains to be seen if that second one was the one he knocked. Yeah, 3:13:44. So pops him behind Glenn. So Boyd won't be winning tonight, which is unusual. This is the first time this series that he hasn't taken the top slot. But as these drivers say, or any elite athlete or performer does, you either win or you learn. And as soon as the prize giving is finished, they will all be back in their boxes, analysing their rounds, making sure that any mistakes are ironed out before the second competition on Sunday, when the points really do count. But with this weekend being not only about finalising who's going to Bordeaux, but the standard of the course and the standard of the driving, it's a dress rehearsal for the climax of the season. So Bram, it's his to win and to take. Can he do it? Of course he can. But we'll know in about 2.5 minutes if tonight Bram Chardon has beaten Boyd for the first time this season. There's Dad, there's Ijsbrand, and he will be cheering on. Bram has to keep his focus. Don't forget, he's got this slightly younger than novice horse in front. Now, if he can pull this off in competition 1, this will be very impressive. How lovely would it be to go into Bordeaux as the top ranked driver? Gosh, that was a very accurate turn. Nothing to spare. And that's where you gain the time. And out through E. Nothing to add so far. That's it, the music's picked up, that's what we want. The tempo to match the footfall of these remarkable horses, showcasing the brilliance that is the Driving World Cup. Now look at that turn. Most drivers would struggle to do that with a pair of horses or even a single. What these drivers and their remarkable steeds achieve at this level of competition, it never ceases to amaze. And Bram is the master. Round he goes. And he's out, he's out. And still on 0 penalties. Bit of an adjustment there, but at the moment it's on 0. He wants his horses to run on, but he needs to keep the balls on top. Oh, incredible! Incredible. Our first clear of the night, and look at that smile. 2:90.71. What an achievement. Well done, Bram. Brilliant, Bram. He's done it. How good must that feel? What a relief. Is this going to be the new order for Leipzig? Bram Chardon, Glenn Geerts in second, and Boyd third. That's not something we see terribly often, but just you wait. Boyd will come out on Sunday and he will have a score to settle. But tonight, it's all about brilliant Bram Chardon. And the crowd on their feet, rightly so, appreciating the talent, the many, many hours, the lifetime that has gone into this moment. Bram, he was so successful with the pony teams. He trains other people, became a dad in 2022 as well for the first time. We wonder if the next generation of Chardon drivers is in the sidelines. Leanne, his sister there, kept him accurate and focused tonight. Quint van Rijswijk on the back, a young man who's another friend of Bram's who helps him with the outdoor team, and together, how formidable are they? So it can be done. Jérome Voutaz's course can be driven clear. Bram Chardon has just shown us how it's done, and some. Tight on that cone, but judged it absolutely perfectly. Then off you go. Don't these horses know their job? Look at the crowd, everybody. The atmosphere, the chemistry, the electricity. There we go. Job done. And that's how quickly it's taken down. It's such a slick operation. But just to confirm there, Bram Chardon, by some margin, our winner tonight. Competition 1. Glenn Geerts, he will be absolutely thrilled, as will all his friends in driving. Put in a great show tonight, 3:06.31. Boyd Exell in third position, not something he's accustomed to at all, but he will be back on Sunday, and my goodness, he will be out to win again. Koos de Ronde in fourth. Very good show from him. Jérome Voutaz climbed up the rankings a bit. He's in fifth. Georg von Stein, the wildcard, German wildcard, and put in such a blistering first round. Michael Brauchle in sixth, and in seventh, the great Ijsbrand Chardon. And again, come Sunday, just wait and see what Ijsbrand does, because that's not like him to have a glitchy round like that, but he came back out and he righted the balance. So just a few moments now whilst the obstacles are dismantled. Now, although the routes and the basic plan will be much the same for Sunday, there we go. What a relief. There may just be a few slight angle changes for some of the cones, just to perhaps put the pressure on a little bit more. No room for complacency at this stage of the season. So that has been a fantastic evening of equestrian sport and driving here in Leipzig. Competition 1 on the 8th leg of 8 rounds in the 2022-23 Driving World Cup Series. The FEI World Cup title is about to be run in Bordeaux in 2 weeks' time, but this weekend the final placings, the rankings will be sorted out. Now, those all important points will be awarded on Sunday, just late morning lunchtime, European time. But what's happened tonight is we've just seen a bit of an upset. Glenn Geerts, who came here with quite a specific job to do, he needs to get a podium place at the very least to ensure that he can once again attend a final, and he did everything right tonight. He has finished in second place behind Bram Chardon, the reigning champion, the defending champion. Boyd Exell, who is so keen to win his 10th World Cup title. This is what he wants as much as anything. And he was in third tonight, but they've got a day tomorrow just to sort themselves out, have a think about their strategies, discuss with the teams where they can shave off seconds, where they can find a bit more accuracy. And as all the drivers say, whatever happens in competition 1, they all start from 0 again. And then the top 3 go forward to the drive off, and once again they start from 0. That's part of the qualification. It's a little bit different when we get to the finals in Bordeaux, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it in Bordeaux. But look at that, highly technical piece of equipment. Not sure the wheels are turning quite as well as they do on the carriages, But the drivers outside just cooling down their horses ahead of the prize giving, as the course is deconstructed and it'll be put neatly into a corner outside this vast arena. This is just one part of a very big event in Leipzig. There are ancillary arenas with other events and displays going on, obviously lots of trade stands. So beyond the parameters of what we see here for the driving and the main events, there's all sorts of things going on round and about. And we've had some World Cup jumping and vaulting as well. So really a bumper show for fans of equestrianism. We had the most tremendous event in Leipzig in April where we had 4 World Cups, and it was brilliant after the pandemic to have the finals all together for the vaulting, the dressage, the driving and the jumping. But the driving final in Bordeaux is just a little bit ahead of the other disciplines, which will be in Omaha. But with the outdoor season in driving getting going pretty soon, there'll just be a slight bit of breathing space between the indoor and the outdoor circuit. But some of the drivers already having to think about getting their outdoor horses prepped. But still a full house here in Leipzig, or just about a full house, as we welcome back into the arena the winner tonight of the Sparkassen Trophy. That is what is awarded for competition 1, the timed obstacle competition for a 4-in-hand. And so Bram will be the winner of that trophy. And what is remarkable about the training of these brilliant horses, they are the Olympians, the elite athletes of the equestrian world. We have just moments ago witnessed them going at a flat-out gallop, twisting and turning, making it look easy through the obstacles and the cones. And now they have to come back in and be as calm and cool as you like, statesman-like even, but still with the atmosphere of all those people and the goodwill of the crowd. So Boyd Exell just gone out of shot. Koos de Ronde, he finished in 4th tonight. Jérome Voutaz has surely done enough to be in Bordeaux, but that will be finalised after Sunday. And those brilliant horses standing to attention for the prize giving. And just have a quick look at those buckles on the reins. It just goes to show how much the horses shorten up when they're going at speed, because when they're standing and walking, the buckles are often in front of the driver's hands. Just look there at the horses stretched out at rest. I just think those buckles are back sometimes on the driver's knees. So the Dutch national anthem as the flag goes up in recognition of Bram's win tonight. Bram is someone who is so used to winning, but never ceases to focus, to train, to look at every element of the turnout. He's somebody that also takes his own fitness, both physical and emotional and mental fitness, very seriously. Does all sorts of training to make sure that he is just as competitive as he can be. Whole family. We've seen his dad, Ijsbrand, competing here, his mum, sisters. His sisters actually are top event riders as well, so a supremely talented family, all of them. And we are much the wealthier as a sport for having their involvement.
Hier Applaus unserem Sieger der Sparkassen-Trophy, Bram Chardon. Der zweite Platz mit einer 6,1 geht nach Belgien, Vasco Ermencourt, Tirol, Dubai und Sevillano. Der zweite Platz.
And just coming forward in second position tonight in Leipzig, representing Belgium, and he has many fans in the driving world. He's one of our most popular competitors, Geerts. And put in a great performance tonight over the two runs through Jérome Voutaz's challenging course. Asked lots of questions. There were no points at all that you could just relax and say, oh, let the horses run on. It required all sorts of concentration. And Boyd coming forward. In third place tonight. But Boyd's often somebody that saves a little bit in the tank, in reserve, for the round where the points count. So don't take this as gospel that he'll be finishing in third place on Sunday. He's been on absolutely fantastic form all season. Came out as a wildcard entry at the first event, at the opening event in Lyon, what seems like many moons ago, and has been on consistent winning form. He's probably competed at more events than anyone else, with the 4 qualification events, and then he was a wild card in Lyon and London as well. So Koos de Ronde, one of the wild cards entries, which means they are here by invitation of the National Federation and the organisers. And although they're very much part of a competition, their points do not count towards the rankings. But great to have Koos here, a former champion. 10 years ago, he was our FEI Driving World Cup champion. Jérome Voutaz. Now, he, again, we would expect to see him higher up the rankings on Sunday. Has had a really good season. One of our most entertaining and consistent indoor drivers with the 4 in hand. In 5th place tonight after competition 1. But there's our winner. Must have quite a few rugs in the harness room now. And tonight he was the winner of the Sparkassen Trophy. And as is customary in the prize givings, sponsors and officials from the show get a chance to stand up on the back of the carriage and just get a feel for the power of being behind these 4 wonderful horses.
an ihre Plätze auf die Kutschen eingenommen haben, meine Damen und Herren. Dann feiern wir sie auf der großen Siegerehrung mit Ehrenrunde mit dem Sieger Bram Chardon.
So that's given us our starting order for the competition on Sunday. Bram will be last in. So the order from tonight does help determine the running order for competition 2. Now that takes some skill to hold your cap in your hand and control 4 horses that have just gone galloping round this arena, not once but twice. It just goes to show everybody at home who's got their horses just what you can achieve with these magnificent animals. And the crowd, even though it's getting late, we're into the closing hours of Friday night, but still everyone appreciating what has been a brilliant spectacle. Now this is often where the fun and games start with the drivers, and we might see a little bit of what we call the donut when they go round in a circle. So that's Koos, Bram and Glenn who stayed in the arena just to give the crowd their last little bit of entertainment, and this always goes down so well. Just wonderful showmanship. And this is like playing chicken. They get so close to each other. Oh, look at Glenn's leaders. What presence they have. Such good looking horses. Brilliant. Go on, Glenn. And Koos de Ronde making a great exit. A good day for him and night in Leipzig. Whoa, twist and turn. Don't miss the exit. And Bram just biding his time before he makes his exit. And that is always something that goes down so well, with the rosette being handed to one of the youngsters in the crowd. And it really takes guts to ask those horses to go flat out. There's not always a huge amount of stopping room. And as we wave farewell to our winner tonight in Leipzig, brilliant Bram Chardon. Thank you for watching, and please do tune in again. I'm Sarah Dance, and we really, really look forward to sharing this incredible sport with you once again on Sunday. Take care, and thank you for watching.